This is Getting Past Subtitles. My name is Sean Peel.
And I'm DK Lee.
And welcome to a new series. We are starting anew and whole different direction. A genre that I particularly like. When I'm feeling like, I don't know, when I want to watch something that's more like film-ish.
Yeah.
You know, not something that's like, not like necessarily like enjoyable or like fun, but more like, I don't know, inspiring, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a little bit of like a deeper level, I guess you can say, you know?
More like reconnecting with your humanity. Something like that.
Reconnecting with the pureness I once had. But we're going into coming of age films for this series. And so this week we are kicking it off with a movie called Bori, which is about kids, really. So this daughter named Bori, this family, and they have like two small kids, and the oldest daughter, her name is Bori, and it surrounds this family who is deaf, except for Bori, who's not deaf. And I guess basically, if I had to sum it up, it'd be like Bori gets FOMO.
Yeah.
For her family.
Straight up.
Yeah, like literally. And then basically she has a wish, and her one wish is to also be deaf. And then she gets into like an accident and then fakes the fact that she can't hear because of the accident.
Mm. And
then sort of experiences the troublesome nature that comes with, you know, not being able to hear, as like things happen to her family, and she kind of starts to be treated differently, etc. And then she kind of regrets it in the end, and sort of tries to right her wrongs, essentially. That's pretty much the movie. That's basically it.
What are your first impressions? This is your first time watching?
This is my first time, yeah. I think we were just going through like lists of movies to watch it, and this one kind of seemed in the nature of it, so I picked this one. So I didn't really have like any expectations going into it. Like I knew it was kind of like the cast was surrounding kids mostly. So I kind of, I don't know, expected something like along the lines of like with those kinds of movies, like a little more lighthearted, sort of like there is like that pure sort of element to it, right? Which is definitely here in the movie. But I think I was left at the end. It's not the most exciting movie. It's kind of boring. It's pretty slow paced. The problem is like I don't have a problem with like slow pacing movies and things that are kind of like slice of life, you know, in genre. But with this movie, there wasn't enough enticement, or it didn't really carry the message like all the way. I mean, it did, but it didn't do it in a way that I guess like made it good to watch in a movie. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really carry a full engaging story. It was really too simple, I think, at the end of the day. And also like by the time like obviously I could call her out that she's faking that she can't hear.
Yeah.
But it's just like kids are kind of dumb. You know, like they do things that they don't understand like the repercussions of, you know. And there's just like, instead of it being like innocent, it's just like shaking my head the whole time, you know. and I think it's good in the way that there are real like consequences in the movie, and there's real stakes in there, because like the brother is obviously deaf, and he has a little bit of retention in his the way that he can hear, and so they bring up like having surgery, and that he can kind of not completely restore his hearing back, but like enough to kind of engage a little more with his surroundings.
Yeah.
So that brings up like serious discussions, but like there are very big repercussions to that, and that's like the stake of the movie, and then that's like the big challenge for Bodhi at the end. So like that's definitely there, but at the same time, it's like she carries out the fact that she can't hear for so long. It's like, do you really understand how bad this is, you know?
Right.
And it's just kind of like silly at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's a very simple like story. There's nothing too crazy about it. And I think what it is like the amplitude of the movie is not that big, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
right.
nothing like super like exciting, like super crazy
Yeah, yeah.
that really flips the page or like, like moves the movie in a completely new direction.
Right, right.
It's very like subtle, and like it's kind of like small waves rather than big waves
Mm.
in terms of like the story's pacing and the movement of the story.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like every little thing is just kind of like everyday life, right? It's just all everyday life stuff, and it's just a part of their life
Yeah.
and how they live. And I think that's even more highlighted because of the fact that they can't speak, so there's even less of that, like, because I think dialogue helps a lot with moving that, and
yeah.
and the emotional parts where when they're doing the sign language, it distances us from that a lot more,
Right.
which is why I think that is the case.
Bori is like literally the only character that we get any emotional response from, like pretty much throughout the entirety of the movie. Even when she's having an emotion, or like there's a scene that's kind of bringing that up, like I'm not seeing from the other family members that sort of engagement either. You know,
Right.
like when she gets lost in the during like the festival, and then she waits at the police station and they finally bring her back. Like it's really not that big of like a climb.
It's not like a big deal.
Yeah.
At least for it doesn't seem as big of a deal for the parents. They're just like, oh no, you're in the
Like you're
police
safe now.
station.
Yeah,
You're okay
yeah.
now, kind of thing. But they don't really make a big fuss about it, I guess.
Right, right.
In kind of the typical way we might see in a movie,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like that about this movie. Just because it just felt like they live almost a different kind of life just because of the fact that they can't hear, right? Like their way of communicating is a little bit like off in the way that we might normally kind of communicate things.
Right, right.
I kind of like that about the movie. And like you said, like a lot of things that Bori does is stupid, right? Like it's kind of dumb, like especially like her wish and how her friend helps her try to kill her eardrums and everything. It's just like and like her trying to like drown herself or whatever.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's like stupid and dumb, but I think it captures her innocence, but also her just like
it's just what kids do.
like her desire to want to fit in at that age,
I think like maybe it would have worked better if there was a stronger sense of desire for that, right? Because
it's subtle.
It's very subtle.
You start out kind of figuring it out because of the fact that she always goes to the place to pray, and then like slowly like she like starts looking at her parents and the way that they react or they have a relationship with the son, and by looking at that she kind of feels like alone in that respect.
It's like you get it. I think it does a good job in getting that across, like okay, she feels isolated because she's the only one that can hear in her family, and okay, she wants to kind of be more in with her family, like she also wants to kind of fit in with her family. But I think maybe the problem for me is that we retain a very like fly on the wall aspect of the movie, and that when it comes to her like causing self-harm to go to this extent to be deaf, like we're not personal with her in it, we just don't have like that. It's not a strong enough desire to get there. But I think that's just because like the nature of we're always kind of like on the outskirts of them.
And maybe it's also like the resolution of the movie where where the way that the movie resolves is her confession to the parents that that the son, right? Jin-yu, his surgery will make him not be able to play soccer. And that's why she starts like crying and everything. Maybe it's because like that is a pretty big moment in the movie, but it's not treated any bigger than any other moment. Right? There's that moment where like the father kind of does this and then it ends. And then it goes to the soccer moment.
Right.
So I think it's the fact that like there is never that big climax that you normally would see and normally people have an anticipation for in a movie.
Right. Right.
In this movie, you don't really get that. It's really just like coasting the whole way through the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And so like whatever moments like that are in the movie, you never really find it as a big revelation of the movie. You just kind of see it as like, oh, it's another
Yeah. It's just
small moment kind of thing.
right. Right.
And then so when you get to the end and it kind of ends, you're like, oh, I guess we're done
All
now.
is well now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Because even at the end, when Bori is like, it never really fully comes to terms with like what she feels about her like
That is true.
deafness and
Yeah.
and not being deaf. Like she kind of we kind of get the resolution of like I guess Jung-woo never getting the surgery,
Yeah.
but then we don't really get a concrete idea of
Yeah.
how she feels about her own
Right. Right.
self in the midst of in the midst of being not deaf.
Yeah. The only one I can hear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I guess. Basically, it just she guilt trips herself into kind of that way.
Yeah.
Like it's as we go on because it's like right at the midpoint that she loses her hearing, and then for like the latter half, it's kind
Loses.
of loses. Yeah. And then for the latter half, it's just Bodhi like continuing her daily life, but without being able to hear. And you kind of see like what she loses in that regards, like
Yeah.
the people that she interacted with, she can't interact with anymore, and like calling
Everyone,
yeah,
talks behind her back.
talks behind her back, like her friends' impressions, like people that surround her impressions, like the shopping bit, like she can't also order out lunch and stuff like they usually do, like a lot of things that they were once able to do, they can't. And so it kind of slowly takes a toll on her more and more. And then there's like the more bigger pressing issue, which is when they go to the hospital and then there's with her brother and he's not able to play soccer or do any activities if he gets the surgery. So she has like the secret, and it just basically all this guilt trips her in the end to kind of, give up. But like there's no like really final catharsis for her, like whether is it clear that like, oh, maybe it is okay that I can't hear because I'm able to, play. Yeah, I'm able to play. She accepts the fact that she can play a different role for her family. Like
you don't really get that in the movie though. So that's the thing. This movie kind of leaves it ambiguous, but there could be a movie out there in an alternate universe where you kind of get that resolution of her finding peace with the fact that she can hear and maybe being grateful that she can hear and that she can help her parents or something, and there's some kind of resolution there.
Right.
But we don't get that here.
Then it turns into a Jung-woo film. It's like save for Jung-woo, woo, to play soccer again.
Right. But in one aspect, I think it's kind of cool that they leave it ambiguous because it's like you kind of wonder how she will. Because the whole movie, right, you're living this, you're kind of like, you're invited into this small piece of their life. And then you're kind of leaving that after at the end. You're never really given this like, oh, this is a revelation. But you're just kind of left to wonder. I guess she, at the end of the day, she is just a kid who went through this small phase of, wanting to, lose her hearing. And then at the end, she kind of feels like maybe that wasn't the smartest idea. And there's that little symbolism with the dream catcher looking thing that she gets.
The evil eye.
Yeah, the evil eye, whatever.
Wards off.
Like at the end, like she throws it into the water. I wonder what that means.
Bad juju, get this out of here. But it's I mean the whole movie is like pretty minute, and like I said, like it is. I mean, with most stories and films, right? Like a story is just like you're taking the most interesting part of like a character, like this world, and then you're telling a story out of it, right?
Yeah.
And that is very certain here. Like it is just like a small like slice of their life. Like she just kind of has this episode where she gets FOMO pretty much. But like also, I think particularly here when your characters are like deaf or like they experience the word like differently. Like I think a big part in elevating the story or like exposition wise is even giving like the family's impression of like what their life and like their struggles, and it goes a little bit into that, right?
It's very sparse though,
It's
and I
very
think
very
that is the
sparse.
missed opportunity there.
Yeah.
Like especially like for Jung-woo, like there are moments where he kind of talks about it with his sister, but they don't really show it as much
I feel like that's
as I
the
would
biggest
have liked.
drop.
Right.
Yeah.
Like because there are moments like with when Bori is deaf, like she is in the classroom and she's like cleaning, and like the other kids talk behind her back or talk in front of her, but they think that she can't hear, so they try to con her into cleaning the bathroom instead of the hallways, and like you're getting that from Bori and how she's having to deal with that, and she's getting the realization that being deaf is not all great.
Yeah.
Whereas like the father or the mother you kind of get from the shopping part, but that's not really. I feel like that's bigger Bori thing than a mother thing.
100%. Yeah.
And also the father, he talks about it like of his past, but you never, it's never like a big problem for them. I feel like at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
As much as like Bori is seeing things, and I think that because we're in her perspective a lot, I think we could have seen like slight moments, like maybe Jung-woo like being bullied by like his friends, and she's seeing that, like something like that would have kind of helped to show like even them being deaf like really has an impact on that, because like it's always done through like them talking like but then showing like that could have also helped.
Yeah, I think it's like perfectly fine that like I think the shopping scene was really good, and I think that works because I like it is really more for Bori.
Yeah, I really like the shopping scene.
That was really good.
Yeah,
and I am fine with like even the dad, like when they're talking while fishing and he's giving his like his past experience, and like like it's really like Jung-woo has a like really nice like people kind of catch up, he's able to go to school, etc etc. Like I think that's fine.
Yeah,
but I do think like with Jung-woo specifically, like they showed more of his experience, even like I said, like with Bori, like witnessing sort of Jung-woo being bullied or like being ostracized while playing soccer, because that's something that he expressed, right? Because Jung-woo is like actually a pretty big character in the movie, and like if the climax is sort of him essentially, I think it would have been it's a really big missed opportunity to not incorporate sort of Jung-woo's trials and tribulations even through Bori, right? That would have elevated like her guilt at the end as well. Right. Like I should really confess that I have this information, and allow them to play soccer, like, be better engaged with soccer.
Also, it could have given a bigger conflict to whether or not she feels like he should get the surgery or not. Yeah, because like she sees how much he's like having issues with the fact that he can't hear, and so people are bullying him. Like if she actually sees that, it might kind of give her a conflict inside of her of like, oh, but this surgery could actually help him adjust to society better. Right. But also, the soccer thing. So like it gives a bigger conflict there in terms of like deciding whether or not to tell Jung-woo or the parents about the surgery.
And that's like exactly what I mentioned earlier. Like that's the personal conflicts and just the personal relationship that we're missing with Bori for the majority of the time, I think.
Yeah. One thing like I say this as like kind of a defense, but it's not really, is like the fact that they are deaf and like the communication that like it's hard for them to communicate, and I think that that's also part of the thing, like like the way that they like I said, like the way that they express their emotions and things like that, it's just different from the way that like we could possibly communicate that. And so maybe that's why it feels so like distance and removed from the way that we typically think a person should act. But yeah, I mean it's not really a defense, but I just feel like that's might play a part in that.
Right. Yeah, I think that adds to, like I said, the simplicity of the movie because
Mm.
the way that they like are able to talk and like express their sign language, like it's all very kind of in simple sort of language, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to kind of get more nuanced conversations and sort of deeper expressions in a sense, you
Right.
know. I felt that a lot when, like when the dad was telling, well, Bori asks her father they're fishing, like how he met
The
his
mom.
mom
Yeah.
and how they got married and stuff. And it was a very like simple, like almost fairy tale way that
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was telling it, and it wasn't like super in depth, but it got the point across, you know.
Right.
And so, and that generalization kind of is the consistency throughout
Yeah.
the movie. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible movie. Like it's pretty good. It is just I don't know. It's just kind of really slow paced.
Mm.
It's kind of long too. It's like almost 2 hours. At that point.
Yeah. 150.
Yeah, and just like it's like immediately like one. It's funny because she's standing over the sea, and then the next shot she's in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like really thrown off for a bit. I was like,
Really?
is this like a dream sequence or anything? Like is she wishing? Like is she having a dream that she woke up deaf? But then they like are really going with it, and I'm like, there's no way that she like you're faking it. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna fool me. And then she only tells her best friend. The president's like, what?
Yeah. I like the little moments in the movie. Like the shopping thing was nice. I like
No.
the police station scene where she's like crying and then it's like food.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, huh? Jum jum yum.
Yeah. And
She's like, do you like was it like seafood or?
yeah.
She's like black beans.
I like the scene when Puri and the best friend, they go to that big tree and they just kind of chill there.
Yeah.
And little moments like that are nice, especially in like a slice of life. Those are the kind of moments that you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice.
That's nice. I like when they all like cuddle in the morning.
Yeah.
Dad's sleeping in the day.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Lazing around in the afternoon kind of vibe.
It's very like I do love the setting and like the chillness of it all. It's very like seaside town.
Yeah.
It is very. I think it does a great job in like expressing that lifestyle. Like everything is super chill. Everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
It's like very small town. It's always sunny. It's like
Never
perfect.
raining.
Yeah. There's not a cell phone in the movie. It feels very like I don't want to say dated, but like it has that peaceful like remote kind of atmosphere to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
everybody is engaged with their life,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
It's nice.
It's kind of nice. Also, what kid goes to school when there's not school? Who misses that opportunity?
Yeah. She's.
What a ditz.
Yeah,
She's like, it's not the first time. I keep doing this.
Yeah, it's like, hey, have you checked the calendar before?
Yeah.
Maybe call your friend and be like, hey, you got school today?
Yeah, I know. The brother had to go all the way to the school to be like, you dimwit.
Yeah, it's soccer. He wasn't even like,
Yeah.
about it. He's like, oh, why are you here?
Go eat some food. Yeah, go back home.
But yeah, I really like Chung-woo. He's
Yeah,
such
Jung-woo.
a like happy, like smiley guy.
Go lucky kid.
Yeah.
I thought the only thing I felt out of place was like that one scene that he goes to school. Like I don't know if he's late or something. I think he's late, and he like hops the fence
Oh yeah.
into the school, and then then the
He
teacher
kicks the ball and then
yeah, and she just like take a seat, and he just like puts his stuff down, and then he just goes right to sleep in the middle of class. I was just like, I don't know, what was the point of all that? Like, it just kind of felt,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's my only critique with him. But and what did you feel about the reveal at the end? That was like the
He didn't win.
no.
The soccer thing. I think this is like something that like I think a lot of writers always feel like it's like, do we want to all give them the full victory at the end kind of thing? It's like, or do we be like, oh, but he did win at the end, trying to make it a little more realistic kind of thing. I don't know. I think he should have just given them the victory, to be honest.
But didn't he had the medal?
He got the medal, but they didn't win like the whole thing.
Oh, the whole game?
Yeah, he missed the shot at the end.
Yeah.
But they got like I guess second place or whatever.
Gotcha.
So he still gets the medal, but it's like
That's because it's never about
The winning.
the win. You know, it's about the things that you earned along the way. You know? It's
The
about,
journey along the way.
Exactly. It's about what you take personally.
How about the winning is also part of the journey, huh? Getting that number one is also part of the journey, okay?
What do you think I worked so hard for? I give up surgery for this. Trying to get my dub. I keep thinking back to The Incredibles when he's like doing the track race. And then he's like dusting everybody. He's like, no, second place, third place, third place. He's like slowing down. He's like, should I?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's yeah. I mean, what did you think about it? Like the end.
The ending.
Well, for
I thought it was fine. I mean, it wraps up the whole thing. Well, that's like it. It wraps up the whole thing with like Jin-yu, right? Because the scene before is like, but I want him to get surgery, or like I don't want him to get surgery because of he should play soccer, like he should still be a kid, blah blah blah. And then at the end, he like fulfills like whatever, like he doesn't do the surgery, right? That's what the assumption is. So fulfills that, but then like as we're talking, like it is a Bori movie, so like in that sense, you know, I don't know, but I think like. It brings the family back together, you know, and that's kind of like the moment. It's like now everything is like at center again. Like we're all having a good time. You know, they all eat noodles together, and then there's like the delivery guy is actually the dad of Jung.
Yeah, and Jung. Yeah.
And then the mom calls and is like, "Is looking for you, bro."
Not here.
She's like, nah.
That was kind of funny though. She's like. Oh yeah, she's gonna come over.
Yeah. It's like
it's like, oh crap. How does she know?
It's okay. She'll just beat me. It's all good.
I'll take a beating.
But hey, lucky them. Their soccer game was broadcast on television. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how small the town.
That's how small the town is. There's only 2 soccer teams all around here. Yeah, I mean. I think it's an okay movie at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add? Anything? It's like a too simple of a movie to talk about.
Well, I mean, what do you think of it as like a coming of age movie?
Well, that's the thing. Like, because there is no like sort of catharsis for Bori, or like there's no like personal resolution, because coming of age is like we take like a youthful chapter in somebody's life and it's about them sort of maturing or growing up,
right?
Or like through like an experience or something. And certainly we have the conflict and the trial is in like an episode for her to grow up, but we don't get like the resolution of like her being mature from this experience.
Yeah, right? I think it's like we don't get the concrete resolution, right, that we normally see, or possibly. So I'm kind of conflicted because I think that maybe the ending scene when she throws the thing into the sea is kind of the resolution of her. It's not like stated it's not stated explicitly.
Yeah,
of her decision, or like of her finally coming to terms with the deafness and stuff, but maybe it is the resolution that she needed, or like that she has personally. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of a shame that we don't fully experience that or like see that within the ending of the movie. Yeah. But I think it's meant to imply her resolution of like coming to terms with that. Right. Except we never really I guess the thing is we don't see the after effects of that. That's the thing, right? We don't see the after effects of her finally making that decision and finally coming to terms with it. We kind of see her looking at like how like Jung-woo's being happy with his friends and stuff. We see that kind of stuff, but we don't really see her like finally being happy with her family, regardless of the fact that she's the only ones being able to hear. Like we don't really get that at the end. So
I mean, kind of like they're all sitting together, like watching the game and stuff. Like, I mean, the mom's missing, but like she's with her father, right? Like her friends are there, so I think it's excluding that there are repercussions from that fact. I think it's all assumptions. Like, I guess that's
right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Problem, right? Yeah. But you can assume that like that from the scene before, obviously she feels super guilty from everything, and she kind of unloads and confesses. and that from that, now that everything is okay, so it's kind of a lesson learned in that way. Like,
Yeah.
Obviously she won't go back to pretending she's deaf, but
Well, yeah, she won't go back to pretending she's deaf,
right.
but I think it's the fact that like you're fine. Like usually in these kinds of movie, you kind of get that moment when the character, you're like kind of alone with the character,
Yeah,
and and then the character has that moment of like, okay, now I'm like okay with the fact, or like,
right.
not okay with the fact. Like there is that moment, but I don't think you really get it.
Here.
Well, you get it at the end, like
Oh,
that little moment when
yeah.
she's like walking on the side. I think that is the moment, and then we just end on that. I think a lot of coming of age movies are do something similar to that. I think 400 Blows did that kind of at the end when like he's running to the sea at the end. I don't know if you watched that movie, but there's that movie that does that. So like there are movies that kind of have that like big, I guess internal like resolution at the end.
Yeah.
And it ends with that, and shows like the character has forever changed, or the character is moving on from this moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it does do that at the end in this movie as well. It's just very subtle.
Yeah.
Right? It's really subtle.
It's too quick.
And it's just like her kind of looking at the thing, the whatever, the evil eye thing, and she just throws it.
I don't need you anymore.
And then it cuts to black. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I think I like the fact that, I mean, judging by the pacing of the movie and just the overall style of the movie, I think it fits. It's just very subtle, so sometimes you can just miss something like that, right?
True, yeah. Like the fact that she stole the evil eye.
Mm-hmm. No, did she?
She didn't pay for it because her
I
parents
guess
went
not,
missing.
right? Yeah, I guess not. Well, I kind of assumed she went back to buy it or something, because she just runs out, right?
We can't just assume these things. We can't just assume.
Well.
We can't just assume. You don't think she would want to go home after being lost from her parents?
Yeah, she just stole it.
I'm not thinking about going back to pay for this thing.
Uh-huh. I just find it hard that she could steal it when she had a full-on conversation with the dude about it,
It's called misdirection. If I sit
She
here...
was legit bartering with the dude to try to get it.
If I sit here and barter with him, the longer our barter, the more the focus is on the barter, and the less it's on the fact that it's in my hand.
And she's like, "Oh wait, mommy,"
Yeah,
and then I just leaves with the thing.
I didn't like the fact that it was like that abrupt. That it was like, "Do you even have any money?" And instantly she's like, "Oh shit, whoa!"
Yeah.
like there was no build up to my parents are lost. It was like instantly like I know I'm alone here, and I'm just alone.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, it does keep in that the consistency of the movie is like pretty subtle and sort of its delivery until the ending. I get your point. The ending can definitely suit that, but also it is subtle. So
I mean, you don't have to like it,
okay.
right? You don't have to like
Yeah.
the movie and how it resolves itself.
It's not a bad movie. It's like would I watch it again? Probably not. But it's fine, I suppose. Yeah. There are other ones that has done it better. I think, yeah. That hopefully we can watch. What is like your particular favorite like coming of age movies? Is it like ones with like little kids, or do you prefer like little mid-teens youth?
I think it's varied. I think it really just depends on the movie. I don't think it necessarily matters what age they are, but I think like what the content of what they're struggling through, I think is pretty like it changes the way that I see it, because certain things I feel like, oh, I don't really feel like that's a big deal. But other things I feel like it's a bigger like change or transformation in their internal, and some of those are more engaging, I think, for me personally. Other things feel like very trivial, no offense. So like, really, because there's like one there was that did we watch it together? I don't remember the one where like they eat the ashes or whatever. You remember that one? Did I watch it with you?
Eat the ashes.
Remember, it's like that Korean movie where like at the end, like there's a two like friends or whatever, and then they drink milk with the ashes. Did I watch that with you?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe I didn't
It
watch it.
sounds
With
like
you.
incredibly morbid. I don't know. It's
It was like it was something. I like don't remember exactly like
yeah.
the full plot, but yeah, like at the end, like it is a coming of age of like this girl and like how like she has like issues with like the parents and stuff and at the end like there was this I forget whose ash it was even, but like yeah, like that one I felt like it wasn't as impactful or like I didn't it wasn't my favorite movie in terms
Yeah.
of like a coming of age movie. I didn't really like relate to it as much, but
I mean, neither would I.
it was an interesting one though. That just ending was very like, oh okay, we're gonna do this
Weird.
kind of thing. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that was me,
yeah.
bro.
Okay, maybe not. Somebody else.
If I find it, I'd have to see.
Yeah, I forget the name of it too, the movie itself. But
So where does this movie land as far as like?
I mean I like the setting of it. I like the vibe of the movie.
Yeah,
Right, like
Yeah.
that is a really good vibe. But
I'm certainly envious.
it's like
of
a
their
5.
lifestyle.
Yeah, like a middle, like a really in the middle.
Like right, dead center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's like how impactful? I guess like as far as the coming of age part goes, like do you think this was a huge? This is a big episode. For
I don't think it's a big episode for Bori herself because I think it's kind of like well maybe as a child it might be a kind of big like her figuring
Right.
out the fact whether or not like being deaf or not being deaf is a big thing, but in the big scheme of her life I don't think it's gonna be like
Yeah.
as big of a thing because you know she comes to learn through this moment and like you know
Yeah.
they go back to the coda, right? Like they go back to status quo in this movie, so I think it's not as big of a like a change
Yeah.
in her character as
Right.
as the story progresses.
She's in like a weird age where you go through something like that, you know, and it's really not all that serious, you
Right,
know?
right.
Like for a kid, it's like kids' experience is like really heightened, you know, and so like
Yeah.
this is like a really big existential crisis
For her, it's a big thing, right?
Right,
But
yeah.
I think in the scheme of her life, it's not like this life
Yeah.
altering or like
You look back and you're like, yeah,
personality changing thing.
right,
You know what I mean? Where
yeah.
Where other movies, I think, like what was that? After My Death, that kind of movie.
Yeah,
You remember that one, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, where like the girl like suicides and then
the other girl's like,
yeah,
trying to
the
find
girl,
out.
yeah, like that's a much like stronger like like life altering kind of moment for the character.
She drank bleach, bro.
Right, like it's a more coming of age thing where like you really kind of
Yeah.
have an alteration, like a change in one's character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly think that was the best like coming of age movie either, but I'm just giving you an example of something more like stronger in terms of the coming of age.
Yeah, one that's gonna have like a lasting impact.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't say.
But yeah, like that thing, like there's a lot of coming of age movies of like friendship, right? Like and like how they cope with loss or like you know or love and stuff like that changes who they are. There's a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
For coming of age.
I feel like that's more of kind of the status.
Mhm.
Yeah, they kind of experience loss. Or
Yeah.
yeah, this one's like different in that sense for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's okay. I think it's just funny being like getting it like again like as a child it seems like a big deal, but then as an adult you're just like it's kind of silly at the end of it, you know. And you just kind of have like that back and forth through it. So, but
I think it's a good insight on the mind of a child, like this movie. I think because like sometimes I think that because I'm in a adult's brain, like you sometimes forget like how kids think, right?
Yeah.
Like just how
they
like
work.
how they work. and I think this movie does a pretty good job of
Right.
showing how they work, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like they don't always have the perfect reason. They don't always have the perfect rhyme and reason to
Right.
the actions that they do, and like
They just kind of
a lot,
react to
yeah,
things.
like a lot of the moments of her praying and stuff, like that's like very like reminiscent of like something a child would really do,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like them just
Making a wish.
making
for,
a
like,
wish and hoping, and like, you know, they hear something from somebody and they're like, oh, that's not true, but then they do the
do it
thing anyways, and like, you know, like that kind of innocence and purity that children have, I think it really captures really well in this movie.
Yeah, 100%.
And like the double-sidedness of her like crying and then wanting the food and all that kind of like
That's what I was gonna say.
yeah, those
too.
like little
yeah.
moments, right?
She's like kind of mature, you know. I mean, she's young, but like she's, I don't know. She seems like
Mature for her age.
10, 11, 12, right? But then she just like bursts out in like huge emotional, you know, outcries for seemingly what
Yeah.
you wouldn't relate to her. She loses her parents, and she freaks out and like cries, you know.
You want food?
You want food? And she's like, yes, all right, you know. Or like in a
Yeah.
scene where like she finally confesses, and then she's just like, she's completely like 180s,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah, like that
Those
like
kinds
you
of
said,
things.
like they have high highs and low lows.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they go back and forth in that, and I think that her lying about death thing is also part of that, right?
Right, yeah. So, what's the deal with Jung-woo is like has a loose tooth that's hurting him, right?
Mm.
And then they take it out, which is pretty funny. And he throws it over the roof and like makes a prayer.
It's like a fairy, like tooth fairy kind of thing, like
Okay.
kind of praying and getting a wish for your teeth or whatever.
Is there what is like the background of like throwing it over the roof? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but there is like a fairy tale about like a tokebi thing, like a monster kind of thing.
On the roof of your house?
Yeah, something like that.
I got you.
Possibly. I might be getting all the fairy tales mixed up.
Your pastime chapter of your life.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was interesting. Is it always the rooftop, or do you just throw it?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I genuinely am not sure.
I'm just very fascinated.
You can put it under your pillow if you want, okay, Sean? Next time you lose a tooth.
I really hope I know.
I actually got my wisdom tooth out, so.
Did you really?
Yeah, 2 of them.
Is it on the roof?
Nope. They took it away.
Dang.
They didn't know I believed in tooth fairies, so they didn't give it to me.
Dang. You're like, that's money, bro. Give me that back.
That was a big one, too.
Yeah. That's worth at least $5. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, man.
But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the movie, I think. Yeah, like you said, it's a little bit slow, but just like going back to the mind of a child kind of thing in this movie.
Yeah. Experiencing sort of that life again.
Yeah.
I think it did a good job in that regard, yeah. What it did, I think it did pretty okay. I just think in the grand scheme of like impact and stuff, and like it's kind of one of those things you're watching it, like it's slow. And I mean, if you like this type of movie, it's fine. But by the end, it's like, why did I like? What was the, you know, like it was like figuring out a finishing to it all.
Yeah.
That's I guess the bit, but it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not something I would go back and watch again. But hey.
Yeah.
But for the next movie, I don't know if I want to say I have seen this, but I really don't remember. Like it's been so long. But it's also another child coming of age movie. This one is Kikujiro. This one's a little popular. I'm trying to figure out who directed it. I want to say Takashi Kitano. It's a little older. Came out in 2000. So, but I don't think I've seen this one actually. So it'll be a first for me. You haven't seen this either?
Nope.
So it should be interesting. A lonely 9-year-old boy decides to spend summer vacation looking for his estranged mother, whom he never met. Kikujiro is an immature man who has never had any serious responsibilities when his wife gives him 50,000 yen to travel to Lasao to begin the journey. Okay. So it's a classic old like not father-son duo, but kind of like older person, you know what I mean? Yeah. What's that movie?
Usagi Drama. That movie?
Hey, that movie was good.
Are you talking about that one?
Does that count as coming of age?
Not really.
Not
It's
really.
more about just like,
Because it's more on the guy.
yeah, but it's also more about like a unconventional family kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more family drama.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. True. So yeah. So next week will be Kikujiro. Looking forward to it. Shout out to our Patreon page if you want to get it early. If you want to see other episodes, come and check it out. Other than that, we will see you next week for Kikujiro. Peace.
Bye.